order will be an overview, which you can just use the back of like your XO flow. The criticism, fusion, and space militarization. Overview, the critique, fusion, space militarization.
Game overview.
Sorry, it's a game overview. Anywhere you want. Take the XO flow and turn on the back.
We've only done it once.
I have a funny joke. I think it's fun. I know it won't be. Okay. If this is a demo debate, the only thing you've demonstrated is how to lose in every possible way. You have conceded multiple impacts from the one you see. The first is space colonization. This means we'll win on the question of inevitability of the impact in the status quo space. Colonization kills multiple people per second. A bunch of people, I don't remember the number, but it's never because of things like resource wars or because of limited or overpopulation. There's no reason as to why the disequity term terms there's the only question to get to these, the only way to resolve these questions is to have lunar migrants get to space, get to space first. This space colonization is a question of the United States hegemony to get there. In a world we don't have this, the world will go extinct. The world will go extinct. Whether the world will go extinct, if not, it's already going extinct. If we don't do the one you see, the second impact is global warming. That's the Henderson piece of evidence indicates we have to stop, run away global warming, which means it's not a question of how do we stop it from never existing, but instead preventing it from going from second. That's the probability question that we will win. If anything, the China war always on time frame because it's a question of perception. Even if you win all of your solvency claims that the Afghans solve, it's a question that we have to win the space race, like we did in the 1950s. We have to be the China. We have to beat the Chinese to space. If we don't, that leads to the conflict in U.S.-China war, leads to extinction, also impact out by their own straight time and leads to internal conflicts, also leads to extinction. The last impact is the hedge piece, and that's a cake. It means we control all terminal impacts. We will win the spin. The hegemony comes before things like space militarization, because in order to get that space militarization, we first have to have hegemony in the first place. Archaic evidence indicates all things like trade or things like nuclear war, the conflicts that happen between countries. Those all controlled only from the United States to have power. Critique. If you seriously are going to vote on severance, I don't want you in my lab. There's not a theory argument in the book as to why severance is bad. He just said it was bad. There's also not one of the two. There's also not a voter flag in the 2 and R's to reason to reject the team. If anything, you should reject the argument, which means the permutation goes away. But what? Only risk of theory is checked by the fact that you made a floating pick, which is equally inclusive, if not more abuse. It's not severance because it's not identity. It's not severance because it doesn't have the possibility. That's what Weaver evidence indicates. They don't care. Fusion. All of your case arguments assume the world is status quo. It doesn't assume the world in which we go to lunar mining, which means we increase things like helium-3, which to solve that, all the questions of why we don't have fusion in the first place, and why the fuel sector is failing, why we don't have technology now. The reason we don't have technology is because we're not winning the space race, which is the perception arc. I am making on the oath. You say fusion is key to space colonization, but the clue evidence indicates that lunar mining and helium-3 is key to things like develop fusion rockets, which is key internal links to things like space colonization. That's the bullshit piece of evidence. There is not a that's only the evidence key to specify. Only the evidence keeps this type of fusion fuel. No evidence to prove otherwise. It's inevitable extinction because without this we have no resources. You say time frame. I will answer that here. Even if we lose the time frame question, it's a question of perception. Means our China impact outweighs this leads all that we do the war between extinction of the plant perception is key to prevent things like Chinese hegemony from collapse, but also key to stop Chinese hegemony, which is internal link. You can see that's a Kagan means we control our wealth and impacts. That China has complete control of our market. Now the question of how we counter Chinese hegemony. That's the key internal link. That's the whole Trump piece of evidence. That means it's the perception of the space in the first place. Jones evidence indicates that technology is increasing now because we have things like fossil fuels or nuclear fusion. That technology exists. Even if we lose that question, it's just perception of getting to space first. Space though. Case turns a disapp before the disapp turns a case. U.S. hegemony means that none of the conflicts will escalate. Our clear evidence says the conflicts are only a question of whether or not they escalate. Or China again is going to win us the debate. All other impact take years to happen because other nations begin to weaponize space. Our China advantage is perception-based, which is the quickest impact. Is we don't do the plan. China will preemptively strike out, become the world counter. This escalates quickly because other nations we draw into conflict like Russia and Iran have already vested interest in the research. Try or die for the firm because the China war, because of the China war, we bet the space or the space war later on. That will be the reason. for aim 9. He says China impact. His evidence only descriptive of the status quo. Our evidence says that China will attack the U.S. and the status quo because they feel as though we are declining because we have no access to helium-3. U.S. will strike China in the short term to get access to rare earth minerals, means we outweigh on time frame. He says space debris that exists in the status quo now, but we will get access to the moon. But we will get access to the moon. Now space debris doesn't happen until way after the plan happens. We'll be the hegemon on Earth, which means we would de-escalate the conflicts that happen, which is your impact thing. Now the link to make their holograph piece evidence says that space weaponizations happen in the status quo. Even speak to surveillance systems, rocket fuel, and space our perception links outweigh their chance of space weaponization of long term. We are in dual use now, which means the Constellation program should have already caused something which takes out the risk of disagreement. This debate. China and Russia are developing ASAT technologies now, which isn't causing any of their impacts. No agreements are being now other technologies in impact. Space weaponization solved India-Pakistan war because we are able to monitor the problem. We are able to de-escalate the conflict. There's no chance we put nukes in space now. It works and generally prevents India-Pakistan war in the short term because we can diplomatically act to stop those conflicts. I will say this now. He just says that RF causes space weaponization. There is not an explanation or a warranted reason as to why that is true. Hold them to that. There's not an argument made. Don't make the argument for me.